They said no one would dare walk into his cabin alone, then she did. Best Wild West stories. The sun was low in the sky, casting long orange shadows across the dusty streets of Redstone, a small frontier town on the edge of the canyon world called Valoria. 7. The town was quiet, almost too quiet, as if the wind itself was afraid to stir. Most of the settlers had already closed their shops and pulled their shutters tight. Only a few people lingered on the porches, peering into the fading light with cautious eyes. "Don't even think about going near his cabin," said Old Man Harris, his voice trembling more from excitement than age. He had one hand on his walking stick and the other gripping a mug of hot tea. "They say no one who walks up that path alone ever comes back the same. Some never come back at all." A group of children huddled nearby, wide-eyed, hanging on to every word. The stories were growing every day, fueled by whispers and speculation. Most were about the man who lived in the cabin on the edge of the canyon. His name was Elias Thorne, though few dared to say it aloud. Amara Quinn, however, did not pay attention to the warnings. She was small for her age, but full of energy and determination. Her dark hair was tied back in a loose ponytail, and her green eyes sparkled with curiosity. She adjusted the strap of her bag, which contained a small drone, a toolkit, and her notebook filled with sketches and ideas. She had always been a problem solver, the kind of person who saw a locked door or a danger sign and thought, why not see what's behind it? Her friend Jace frowned from across the street. "Amara, don't," he warned. "This isn't like exploring the caves near the river. People really do disappear out there. That canyon, that cabin, it's not safe." Amara gave him a small, reassuring smile. "That's why I want to go, Jace. If everyone's too scared to look, how will we ever know what's really there?" She tightened her boots and began walking down the main street toward the edge of town. The townsfolk whispered behind her back, but she didn't care. She had heard the rumors just like everyone else. Elias Thorne was a recluse. Some said a genius, others said he was dangerous. They claimed his cabin had strange machines and blinking lights, and that sometimes people heard strange sounds echoing through the canyon at night. Amara ignored the shivers that ran down other people's spines. To her, it was all a mystery waiting to be solved. With each step toward the canyon, the world of Redstone fell away behind her. The streets became dirt trails, the buildings gave way to scattered rocks and scrub, and the horizon stretched wide, empty, and beautiful. The path to Elias's cabin was narrow and winding, lined with jagged rocks and twisted shrubs. The canyon below looked impossibly deep, its edges crumbling as if the world itself was warning travelers to stay away. Amara tightened her grip on her bag and kept walking, her steps steady and confident. She paused halfway along the trail when she noticed the first sign of human, or perhaps non-human, interference. A series of small metallic markers had been placed along the path, each one reflecting the sun in a sharp glint. They weren't dangerous, exactly, but they were unusual, shaped like little pyramids with strange symbols etched into their sides. Amara crouched to examine one, running her fingers over the markings. "Interesting," she murmured. She scribbled the note in her notebook. Not typical frontier markings. Maybe some kind of sensor or tracking system? She looked up at the canyon and shivered, not from fear, but from the excitement of the unknown. As she continued walking, she felt a faint hum in the air. It was almost like electricity, though she saw no wires, no power lines, no machines. Just the canyon, the trail, and the silence. Bird called somewhere below, and the sound echoed off the rocks like a signal. Amara felt her pulse quicken. This was what she lived for. A challenge, a puzzle, something no one else dared to try. Finally, she saw it. The cabin perched at the edge of the canyon like a solitary watchtower. It was made of dark wood, reinforced with strange metal plates that reflected the sunset in flashes of gold and copper. Smoke curled lazily from a chimney, which meant someone, or something, was home. Amara stopped for a moment, studying it. She could almost hear the rumors whispering from the walls. "Don't go in. He's dangerous. You'll regret it." But then she shook her head, smiling. Curiosity isn't dangerous. Fear is. The front door was wooden, sturdy, and marked with symbols similar to the ones she had seen on the trail. She reached out, hesitated for only a heartbeat, and then pushed it open. It swung inward silently. Inside, the cabin was dimly lit by soft golden lights, emanating from strange devices along the walls. They looked like nothing Amara had ever seen before. Metal frames with glowing panels, small orbs floating in the air, and wires that seemed to move on their own. There was a smell of oil, metal, and something faintly sweet, like the aroma of fresh bread mixed with machine grease. Amara's eyes widened with awe. This was no ordinary cabin. It was a workshop, a lab, a place of invention. Every surface was covered with tools, gadgets, and notes. Holographic maps floated in the air above tables, showing star systems, planets, and strange patterns she couldn't immediately recognize. A soft mechanical hum echoed through the room. Then a voice spoke, not from a person, but from the cabin itself. "Visitor detected," it said, calm and neutral. "State your name and purpose." Amara froze for a heartbeat, then replied confidently, "I'm Amara Quinn. I'm here to explore and learn. I mean no harm." Then the voice spoke again, more softly. "Curiosity is noted." Wait, from behind a large metal console, a man emerged. He was tall and thin, with silver-streaked hair tied back in a loose braid. His eyes were sharp and blue like the winter sky. He wore a long coat with multiple pockets, each filled with small tools and devices. This had to be Elias Thorne. "You are bold," he said, studying her carefully. "Or foolish. Most avoid this place. Most don't even approach the trail." Amara smiled, trying to hide her nerves. "I guess I'm a little both," she admitted. "But mostly I'm curious. I want to understand what you've built here." Elias studied her for a long moment. Then he nodded slightly. "Very well. Curiosity has value. Follow me." He led her deeper into the cabin, showing her machines that floated in mid-air, lights that changed color depending on the room's temperature, and panels that displayed messages in languages she didn't recognize. Amara scribbled notes furiously in her notebook, her mind racing with ideas and questions. "You are not afraid," Elias said finally, pausing beside a large window that looked out over the canyon. "Fear is natural, but you see opportunity instead of danger. That is rare among humans these days." Amara's chest swelled with pride. She had never thought of herself as particularly special, but Elias's words made her feel seen, acknowledged for the very trait that defined her, her human curiosity and courage. "I've always believed that humans can figure things out," she said softly. "We adapt. We learn. We explore. We survive, not by being the strongest, but by thinking, observing, and trying when others won't." Elias studied her, as if weighing her words. Then, unexpectedly, he smiled, a rare, genuine smile that softened his sharp features. "Perhaps—" "You are correct," he said. "Perhaps there is still hope for the daring." Outside, the sun dipped below the horizon, casting the canyon into shadow. But inside the cabin, the lights glowed warmly, illuminating machines, notes, and now, the beginning of an unusual friendship. Amara had taken the first step into a place everyone else feared, and in doing so, she had begun to uncover not danger but possibility. She didn't yet know the full story of Elias Thorne or the purpose of his inventions, but she felt it deep inside her. This cabin, this man, this canyon world, these were the first pieces of a puzzle she was destined to explore. And for the first time in her life, Amara felt that true adventure wasn't about winning or losing. It was about walking into the unknown and daring to learn. Amara stood inside the cabin, feeling both nervous and excited. The walls seemed alive with lights, buttons, and strange machines that pulsed softly. Every few steps, she saw holograms flicker to life above tables, showing planets, stars, and patterns she could not immediately understand. Elias Thorne, the mysterious recluse, watched her silently from across the room. He had his arms crossed, and his sharp blue eyes examined her every movement. There was a small frown on his face, as though he was deciding whether she was clever or foolish. "You're not like the others," Elias said finally, his voice calm but firm. "Most people who hear the stories about me never even come close. They stay behind fences and doors, repeating rumors they barely understand." Amara's eyes lit up. "I don't like believing rumors," she said. "I want to see for myself. I want to understand how things work, why they work, and what they can do." Elias raised an eyebrow. "Most who say that get burned or worse, frightened out of their wits. Curiosity is dangerous when you don't know what you're touching."
"I know," Amara said quickly.
"But I've been careful. I look before I touch. I study before I act. That's how humans survive and learn, by being curious and careful." Elias tilted his head as if surprised. "Careful? Yes. Humans have a strange mix of caution and bravery, don't they?" Amara smiled. "I think it's what makes us special. We adapt. We think. We try things others won't." That's why we survive in places no one else dares to go. Elias studied her silently, then gave a slow nod. Perhaps that is why you have come. Most humans do not possess that combination anymore. They fear, and they wait. But you move forward. Very well. I will allow you to observe. He motioned for her to follow him to a large table in the center of the cabin. On it lay a machine unlike anything Amara had ever seen. It was circular, about the size of a small cart, with panels of glass and metal. Strange lights moved along its surface in waves, pulsing softly like a heartbeat. This is my work, Elias explained. I study energy fields, the flow of power through objects and materials. It is delicate work. One wrong move and things could break.
Amara leaned closer, peering at the glowing panels.
It's amazing, she said. The patterns, they almost look alive. What do they do? Elias shrugged. They show connections, flows, relationships between energy points. I cannot explain everything in simple terms. Most humans would not understand. But you? Perhaps you can. Amara's curiosity flared. I want to try, she said, carefully touching a small lever at the side of the machine. The lights pulsed brighter, and a faint hum filled the cabin. She quickly adjusted a dial, watching the patterns on the holographic display change. Elias stepped closer, eyes narrowing, but not with anger. Rather, he was curious. You have the instinct to experiment, yes, but do not rely on instinct alone. Observation and thought must guide your actions. Amara nodded, quickly studying the machine. She adjusted another dial, this time gently, and saw the pattern shift into a shape that resembled a spiral. She felt a thrill of accomplishment. Look, she said. It's responding to the changes I made. I think I understand it. Elias's lips twitched into a hint of a smile. Not bad. You may be more capable than I thought. Humans rarely have patience to watch and think, then act carefully. Most rush and fail. Amara's chest swelled with pride. She loved the idea that humans, just ordinary humans, could outthink fear and succeed where others failed. It reminded her of all the times she had solved problems others ignored. As she worked with the machine, Elias began to explain more of the cabin's mysteries. This place is more than a home, he said. It is a hub of observation, invention, and experimentation. I track energy flows across the canyon, the planet, even signals from the outer colonies. I study patterns that no one else notices. Most people think I am hiding because I fear them, but the truth is, I hide to protect my work. Curiosity without understanding can destroy more than it creates. Amara nodded, absorbing every word. So, it's not fear, it's responsibility. That makes sense. Humans are good at figuring things out when they are careful and persistent. That's why we keep exploring, even when the unknown is scary. Elias tilted his head again, his expression thoughtful. Humans are interesting creatures. You have a balance of courage and caution. It is rare these days. Most people are either too afraid to act or too careless in action. You are something different. Amara felt a warm glow of pride. She had never thought of herself as unusual. But hearing it from someone like Elias, someone who had spent years observing the world and studying the unknown, made her feel capable and important. Suddenly, the machine gave a soft beep, and one of the panels flickered. A small orb floated into the air, spinning slowly. Amara gasped. Wow, it's alive, she whispered. Elias shook his head slightly. Not alive.
Reactive. Sensitive.
It responds to energy patterns, movement, and intention. Most humans would be overwhelmed. You adapt quickly. Amara reached out, carefully touching the orb. It spun around her fingers without breaking. She laughed quietly in delight. It's like it knows I'm careful. Like it trusts me. Elias's eyes softened, and for a moment he looked almost human, almost like a mentor instead of the mysterious recluse of town legends. Perhaps you are the first visitor in many years who is worthy of trust, he said. Amara's gaze swept across the cabin. Every surface, every gadget, every glowing light held a story, a puzzle, or a challenge. Her mind raced with ideas, plans, and questions. This was more than a cabin. This was a doorway to knowledge, to understanding, to discovery. Then Elias spoke again, his tone serious. You must understand, Amara, that not everything here is simple. Some devices are dangerous if handled carelessly. Energy can be unpredictable. Machines can fail. Observation is key. That is why I watch and wait. That is why most people are not welcome here.
Amara nodded solemnly.
I understand. I will be careful. I will watch, learn, and think before I act. That's how humans solve problems. That's how we survive. Elias's expression softened, and he allowed her to continue exploring. She moved from table to table, examining devices, drawing sketches, and asking questions. Each answer revealed another layer of complexity, another layer of invention, another layer of Elias's brilliance. Hours passed quickly. The sun set completely, leaving the cabin bathed in the soft glow of the machines. Outside, the canyon was dark, but inside, the cabin was alive with light, movement, and human curiosity. Amara had discovered a world that no one in Redstone dared to enter, and she had done it by being brave, careful, and persistent. Finally, Elias spoke again. "You have potential," he said. "Curiosity and careful observation are powerful tools. Most humans forget this, but you remember. Perhaps it is time I consider teaching, showing, explaining, if you are willing to learn." Amara's heart leapt. "I am! I want to learn everything I can." Elias nodded slowly. "Then you will begin tomorrow. For now, rest. Observe. Think about what you have seen today. Curiosity is only the first step. Understanding is the true challenge." Amara smiled. She felt exhilarated. She had entered the cabin everyone else feared. She had met Elias Thorne and seen his inventions firsthand, and most importantly, she had proven that humans, curious, careful, and courageous, could accomplish things that others would not even attempt. As she lay on a small cot in the corner of the cabin, listening to the soft hum of the machines, she thought about the adventures ahead. She knew this was only the beginning. There were mysteries to solve, machines to understand, and perhaps even dangers to face. But for the first time, she felt completely ready. Humans had a way of surprising even the most brilliant minds, she thought. And tomorrow, she would prove that once again. The next morning, Amara awoke to the soft glow of the cabin's machines. Light floated from the panels above, painting the room in shades of blue and gold. The hum of the devices felt comforting, almost like a heartbeat. She stretched and rubbed her eyes, eager to see what today would bring. Elias was already up, moving quietly around the cabin. He adjusted some dials on a device near the window and checked the readings on a panel. He noticed Amara stirring and gave a small nod. "Good morning," he said, his voice calm but firm. "Today you will see more of the systems I have built. But first I must show you something important." Amara followed him as he led her to a section of the cabin she had not explored the day before. It was a corner filled with larger machines, wires snaking along the floor like vines, and panels covered with blinking lights. A faint hum filled the air, stronger here than anywhere else. "This," Elias said, gesturing to a large device at the center, "is the energy core. It powers several systems in the cabin and stabilizes some of the devices I use to observe the canyon. It is delicate, sensitive, and potentially dangerous if mishandled." Amara's eyes widened. "Dangerous?" she asked, though she could feel the excitement rising in her chest. Challenges like this were what she lived for. "Yes," Elias replied. "The core regulates energy flows. If it overloads, it could shut down the cabin systems, or worse, cause damage to the surroundings. I have been monitoring it carefully, but recently, I noticed some instability." Amara stepped closer to the machine, examining it. The core was a glowing orb, suspended in a metal frame. Lights pulsed along its surface, shifting in color from blue to green to gold. She could feel the energy radiating from it, humming softly against her skin. "What kind of instability?" she asked. Elias sighed. "It fluctuates unexpectedly. I have attempted repairs, but some adjustments require precision beyond what I can reach alone. I fear the process could fail if handled carelessly." "Then let me help," she said. "I've worked with machines before, and I think I can understand it. I just need to observe and test carefully." Elias studied her for a long moment. "Very well," he said finally. "You may attempt it. But remember, patience is required. One hasty move could be—" "Unfortunate," Amara nodded. She approached the core cautiously, observing the flow of lights. She noted the pattern of pulses and how the colors shifted depending on the surrounding machines. She sketched quick diagrams in her notebook, labeling the changes and what seemed to cause them. "First, we must stabilize the primary channels," Elias instructed. "Observe the readings. See how the fluctuations respond to small adjustments." Amara focused. She moved her hands over the controls, careful not to press anything too quickly. She watched as the orb pulsed faster and the lights flickered. She adjusted a dial slowly, noting the change in her notebook. It's reacting to pressure changes, she murmured. If I adjust here... Yes, the fluctuation decreases. Elias nodded approvingly. Good. You are observing before acting. Most humans rush, and the core punishes them. Amara continued working, testing small adjustments, recording results, and carefully predicting the next movements of the core. Hours passed as she studied, experimented, and adapted. Every now and then, the orb would flicker unexpectedly, and Amara would pause, thinking through her next move. Then, suddenly, a sharp pulse caused the core to glow brightly, brighter than before. The hum of the cabin intensified, and a faint vibration ran through the floor. Amara froze, realizing the core was about to overload. Elias's eyes narrowed. It is reaching critical levels. Be careful. Amara took a deep breath and focused. She remembered the principle she always followed. Observe, think, act. She had learned the core's rhythm, the way it responded to adjustments. Slowly, carefully, she moved a series of levers and dials, one by one in a sequence she had practiced in her mind. The orb's glow began to soften, the vibration eased, and the hum returned to a steady, calm pulse. Amara let out a quiet sigh of relief. It worked, she whispered. Elias's face softened, and a rare smile appeared. Indeed. You handled it well. Most humans would have panicked. Few could succeed with only observation and careful action. Amara felt a rush of pride. She had faced her first real challenge in the cabin, and she had succeeded. Not with strength, not with luck, but with thought, patience, and skill. I didn't think I could, she admitted, looking at the stabilized core. It was intense. Elias nodded. It is always intense. Power can be both a tool and a threat. The key is understanding, not fear. Humans have a unique ability to reason, adapt, and act where others fail. Today you demonstrated that. Amara glanced around the cabin, at the machines, the glowing panels, and the intricate designs scattered across tables. Everything Elias had built required thought, care, and creativity. She realized that human ingenuity was not just about courage. It was about curiosity combined with reasoning. You see, Elias continued, the world beyond this cabin is unpredictable. The canyon, the frontier, even the colonies, all present challenges. Humans survive not because we are the strongest, but because we think, observe, and adapt. That is why you succeeded today. Amara nodded, feeling a sense of purpose she had never experienced before. She had always believed in human potential, but now she understood it more deeply. Humans could face the unknown, solve problems, and create solutions that no machine or alien intelligence could anticipate. As she continued to observe the core, she noticed another pattern forming in the lights, a sequence that suggested a secondary adjustment might be needed. She pointed it out to Elias, who examined the display. You are correct, he said. I had not noticed that. Most humans would miss it entirely. You have a sharp mind. Together, they worked on fine-tuning the secondary adjustments. Amara carefully followed the steps she had planned, while Elias guided her with advice and small corrections. The core responded beautifully, glowing steadily with a calm, even pulse. You see what humans can do? Elias said softly. Observation, reasoning, adaptation. You take what is unknown and make it understandable. That is power in itself. Amara smiled, feeling a new confidence. She had always enjoyed challenges, but this was different. She was not just testing herself. She was learning, creating, and proving that humans could rise to meet difficulties with intelligence and care. After the core was fully stabilized, Elias stepped back. Well done, Amara. Today, you have not only helped me, but you have also proven something important. Humans are capable of extraordinary problem-solving when they remain calm and thoughtful. Amara felt a warmth in her chest. She had taken a risk by entering the cabin, a place everyone else feared, and she had succeeded. She realized that fear often held people back, but curiosity and courage could overcome it. You know, she said, looking around the room, humans are amazing because we don't give up. We don't just survive, we figure things out. We adapt. We learn. That's why we can do things machines or others can't. Elias nodded slowly. Indeed. And perhaps that is why I allowed you here. You remind me that humans still have potential, that we can still face challenges with courage, curiosity, and care. Amara glanced out the window at the canyon below, the shadows of the rocks stretching long in the late afternoon light. It seemed vast, dangerous, and unknown. But now, she did not feel fear. She felt anticipation. She knew that beyond the canyon there were mysteries to solve, challenges to face, and knowledge to uncover. And she knew that humans, careful, curious, and brave, could overcome anything. For the first time, Amara truly understood the meaning of courage. It was not the absence of fear, but the choice to face it with thought, patience, and skill. And today, in Elias Thorne's cabin, she had demonstrated that humans were capable of great things, not through strength, but through their minds, their reasoning, and their hearts. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the cabin glowed warmly in the fading light. The hum of the machines filled the room, steady and calm. Amara knew that this was only the beginning. There were more challenges ahead, more mysteries to solve, and more lessons to learn. But she felt ready. Humans had faced the unknown before, and they would do it again. And in that cabin, perched on the edge of a canyon in a distant world, Amara Quinn was beginning to prove it. The morning light filtered through the cabin's windows, painting the room in gentle gold and soft blue. Amara stretched, her notebook resting beside her, filled with sketches and observations from the day before. She felt alive, alert, and eager. Today she would continue exploring Elias Thorne's incredible inventions and perhaps uncover more of the cabin's secrets. Elias was already at work, adjusting one of the floating devices near the window. He glanced at her and nodded. "Good morning, Amara. Today I believe you are ready for something more advanced. A test of observation, adaptation, and reasoning." Amara's eyes lit up. "I'm ready," she said confidently. She had already learned so much, but each new discovery made her more curious. Elias led her to a larger section of the cabin she had not yet explored. This area was filled with interconnected machines, each glowing softly, with panels, levers, and small orbs floating mid-air. It was a maze of invention, and Amara felt a thrill as she stepped into it. "These systems control the monitoring of the canyon and the nearby colony routes," Elias explained. "They allow me to track changes in the environment, energy patterns, and even signals from other settlements. But the system has a small problem. It has been running irregularly, and I need your help to stabilize it." Amara approached the main console. She studied the panels carefully, noting how the lights pulsed and the orbs moved. "I think I see the pattern," she said. "If I adjust these sequences here and synchronize this orb with that panel, the system should stabilize." Elias watched her work silently, but Amara could feel his gaze. Careful, precise, assessing her every move. She moved slowly, touching the panels in the order she had predicted. The orbs floated in response, moving in rhythm with the adjustments she made. Suddenly, one of the larger devices began to flicker and hum louder. Amara froze for a second, realizing the system was almost out of sync. The panels glowed bright red briefly, signaling a warning. Elias's voice was calm but firm. "Remember what you learned with the energy core. Observation first. Think before acting." Amara took a deep breath. She studied the flickering device, noting its pattern and predicting how the energy flow would respond to each small adjustment. She moved her hands carefully, matching each pulse to the correct panel. Slowly, the red warning lights faded. The hum returned to a steady, calm rhythm. Elias's sharp blue eyes softened. "Excellent. You have not only observed, but understood the connections. That is rare among humans. Most would panic, most would fail. But you succeed." Amara felt a warm pride in her chest. Proven herself again, not with strength, not with luck, but with patience, reasoning, and human ingenuity. After stabilizing the system, Elias began explaining more about the purpose of his work. "These inventions, they are designed to help humans survive and thrive on the frontier," he said. "Many settlements are built near dangerous canyons, unpredictable weather, and unknown energy fields. These machines allow humans to observe, adapt, and respond. They give knowledge where fear once ruled." Amara nodded. "So your work is not just about invention. It's about giving humans the tools to succeed, to explore safely, to survive where others might fail." Elias smiled faintly. "Precisely. And now, with your help, I see that humans still possess the intelligence, courage, and curiosity to use these tools wisely. That is the most important lesson of all. They work together throughout the day, fine-tuning devices, observing patterns, and exploring the cabin's many inventions. Divered, Amara asked questions, took notes, and learned quickly. Each discovery reinforced her belief that humans were extraordinary, not because of physical strength, but because of their minds, their reasoning, and their ability to adapt. As the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the canyon, a new sound filled the cabin, a faint signal from one of the devices monitoring the colony routes. Elias's eyes brightened. Aha, the system is responding perfectly. Signals from the outer colonies are coming through clearly. You have completed the task well.
Amara smiled, feeling accomplished.
It worked. Everything is stable. The system is functioning exactly as it should. Elias nodded. And so, others will benefit from your efforts. Humans will be safer, better informed, and more capable of handling the unknown. Today you have not only helped me, you have helped humanity. Amara's heart swelled with pride. She had started this journey simply to satisfy her curiosity, to see what lay behind the cabin doors. But now, she realized that her actions could have a wider impact. Humans could solve problems, overcome challenges, and use knowledge to help each other thrive. Outside, the wind whispered through the canyon, carrying the distant sounds of the settlement. Amara looked out at the horizon, thinking of all the people who had feared this place, who had stayed behind fences and walls. She thought of Jace, Old Man Harris, and the townsfolk who had warned her, and she felt a quiet satisfaction. Fear was natural, but courage, curiosity, and careful reasoning could overcome it. Elias turned to her. You have learned quickly, Amira. Perhaps it is time for you to return to the town. Share your knowledge. Teach others that humans are capable of extraordinary things when they face challenges with thought and care. Amara hesitated for a moment. She'd grown attached to the cabin, to the machines, and to Elias himself. But she understood his words. Knowledge was meant to be shared. Humans were strongest when they helped each other grow, learn, and explore. I will return, she said finally, and I will share what I have learned. Humans need to remember that fear is natural, but curiosity and courage can guide us beyond it. Elias nodded. Good, and when you are ready, you may return here. There's still much to learn. There are still mysteries to solve. But for now, it is time to bring your discoveries back to others. Amara packed her notebook and tools, taking one last look around the cabin. The machines glowed softly, humming a comforting rhythm. She felt a deep respect for Elias and his work. He had shown her that human ingenuity, when combined with observation, patience, and courage, could accomplish extraordinary things. Stepping outside, she breathed in the fresh air of the canyon. The sky was painted in brilliant colors, the sun casting a golden glow over the rugged terrain. She felt alive, empowered, and ready. As she walked down the trail back toward Redstone, she noticed the townsfolk watching from a distance. They had expected fear in her eyes, perhaps failure or panic. Instead, they saw confidence, determination, and a quiet strength that can only come from understanding and experience. Word of Amara's journey spread quickly. People began to realize that the cabin they had feared was not a place of danger, but a place of knowledge. Elias Thorne, the recluse they had avoided, was not a threat. He was a teacher, a guide, a reminder of human potential. Amara returned to the town and shared what she had learned, carefully explaining the purpose of the machines, the importance of observation and patience, and the way humans could adapt and overcome challenges. The townsfolk listened with growing respect and amazement. You faced the unknown, said Old Man Harris, shaking his head in disbelief, and you did not falter. You showed us what humans can really do. Amara smiled. Humans survive not because we are the strongest or the fastest. We survive because we think, observe, and adapt. We face challenges with courage and curiosity, and we learn from every step. The town began to change. Fear turned into respect, hesitation into curiosity. Children asked questions, adults observed carefully, and slowly the spirit of innovation spread. Humans, Amara realized, could accomplish anything when they used their minds, hearts, and determination. Days later, she returned to the cabin. Elias welcomed her with a faint smile. I see you have shared what you learned, he said. Humans remember, humans grow. That is why your journey matters. Amara nodded. I will continue learning, and I will continue teaching. There is so much to explore, so much to understand, and humans, we will keep finding solutions, no matter what challenges lie ahead. Elias looked out at the canyon, his sharp eyes softening. Indeed, and perhaps now, others will see the value of courage, reasoning, and curiosity. Humans are remarkable when they use their minds wisely. Amara smiled, feeling a deep sense of purpose. She had faced the unknown, solved challenges, and helped others see the potential of humanity. The canyon was no longer a place of fear. It was a place of discovery, learning, and possibility. As the sun set over the horizon, casting golden light over the canyon, Amara stood beside Elias. Together, they looked out at the world, filled with endless mysteries and opportunities, and in that moment, she understood. Humans were extraordinary not because of strength, but because of courage, curiosity, and the determination to explore the unknown.